Hello and welcome to another one of these monthly lives that I've been doing all of this year, talking to Ukrainian teachers of English. Greetings from a scorching hot North London. You can maybe tell from the slightly sunburnt looking face here how hot it is here. It's like 31 degrees out there or something today. I'm struggling to cope a bit, to be honest. Thank you to everyone who's just joining us and to everyone who's kind of part of our little community here. 1 minute, I'm just waiting to see Oxa English. Is that you, Iryna? Maybe it is. Let me see. It's not. So, I'm sorry, slight bit of confusion there. I'm waiting to be joined by our guest, who this month is a teacher originally from Kherson called Iryna Donchenko. And I think that's her there. Let me see. Yeah. Let's see if she's just coming in. Oh, they both you, sorry.
Okay, it's working, right?
Yeah, working. I can see you. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry,
Hello.
a different Instagram handle or something, or
Yeah. This one is my business account, and probably that one was my private.
okay. Could be for a minute there. Hey, hello.
I can't believe it's happening. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous.
Nervous, don't be nervous. Thank you so much for giving up your time to join us. And I know from a lot of the messages I get that these monthly kind of talks and meetings are something that a lot of people watch and that people, you know, find useful to help them think about what's happening and just to hear firsthand from Ukrainians, you know, what's going on and how you are. So I guess I should begin after saying hello, Iryna. Just by asking the really weird question of how are you? I know it's never an easy question at the moment, but how are you today?
You know, actually can't complain. And, you know, what's happening has become like a background for me. And I cannot say that I'm easily, you know, disturbed by the actions and even surprised, you know, if we talk about what happened yesterday. Like, yeah, but in general, I'm just living my life, working, you know, trying to do my best, as everyone here, basically.
And where are you now? You're in Kyiv?
No. Currently, I'm in Lviv, and we've been here since we evacuated from Irpin because we'd been living in Irpin, right, when the war started.
Wow, I didn't know that bit.
Yeah, I've got a full house, I know.
Yeah, it's like you tick all the boxes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, yesterday was a fairly crazy day. Trying to make sense of what the hell is going as the warlords start turning on each other.
Yeah, we were suspicious, so we didn't believe, you know, it can't be that simple, so we're still waiting, you know, to understand what happened.
I think that's all you can do. I think, you know, whatever way you look at it, nobody comes out looking any better from it, is the way I'm looking at it. And it makes, you know, if Putin's on TV in the morning saying that it's 1917 again and that all traitors will be crushed, and then in the evening he's kind of going, oh, we've sorted it out. And that looks weak and strange. And if Prigozhin's on his Telegram channels saying, we're going to destroy the corrupt, evil center of Moscow, and then he's kind of saying, oh, they're giving me some more money, and no one looks good.
It's like a Netflix film, you know, something new.
Yeah, I've been trying to explain to my kids. My kids are actually off at the moment with our Ukrainian friends. They've gone to the park. You know, so it gives me a quiet house for a while. And I've been trying to explain to the kids why Prigozhin is called Putin's chef. And they're kind of like, wait, he was a hot dog seller and now he's a warlord. Like, it makes no sense. And
This is Russia, the country of opportunities.
Yeah, you know, you too could become a warlord. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, Matt.
That was the start.
So let's to kind of begin with, could you tell us a bit about yourself and where you're from and where you grew up and your family?
Yeah, okay, I can, surely. So I was born in Kherson and I lived there until I became 17 because I decided to study in another city, which is Odessa. Probably I was too tired of my parents, you know, I wanted to become independent. Yeah, yeah. But I got a very good education in Kherson. It may be strange for some of my fellow citizens because Kherson is a small town, basically. It's not Kiev or not even Odessa. But fun fact, in my primary school, we actually started using the laser course book by Macmillan, which for the Kherson in the notice is fantastic.
So I actually don't know that course book.
Yeah, it's an old one, so yeah, but it's a British one, so.
Well, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Okay, no problem.
That's a bad start.
I see that some of my students are joining. Oh my gosh, a lot of people. I feel like a celebrity. I hope you do not see my fine lines. Do I look good? Hugh, I hope you are alive.
I'm here. Sorry, that's my wife coming.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this vibes, I know.
So yeah, sorry, saying you grew up in Kherson.
Yeah.
A Macmillan course book in the noughties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then I moved to Odessa. I loved the city and I loved the university. And what? I was ready to start my life. I finished the university. I found a good job. I actually relocated to Kiev, so I had a chance to live in the capital for
What did you
4
study?
years. I studied translation and interpreting. And surprise, surprise, my second language was Greek.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I cannot hear you. Probably it's my telephone muting you or.
Well, why Greek? How did that come about?
Mine is not new too, so so that's it. I never intended to become a teacher as I started.
Why Greek, Iryna?
You know, it was strange because I wanted to study at German philology at first. So I gave my documents to several faculties. And then I decided, okay, maybe translation will be better because I might get a better job because, you know, teachers are not thought to be like, I don't know, like a very good job that gives you money, like a common myth, actually. And so I chose translation, and the first language was English. And then I was put to the group where the second language is Greek. And I actually disagreed. So I came to our dean and said, oh my gosh, why I do not need this language? Where will I speak it? And so on and so forth. And she told me, calm down. You will come to my place and say thank you, which actually happened because I had a chance to travel to Greece, to study the language in different universities in Athens, in Thessaloniki, and I do not regret actually now.
Was there any kind of like Greek-speaking community in Kherson? I mean, I know like up in Mariupol or somewhere, there was still like little Greek communities and stuff, yeah?
In Kherson, no, but in Odessa, yeah, there was quite a big community. And as you mentioned, in Mariupol, there was a big community as well. And all the Olympiads in Greek happened there in Mariupol.
Yeah. And
that's true.
In terms of your own kind of family background, if you don't mind, would you just say a bit about your parents and, you know, where and what their background was?
Surely. My family is like an average family. My mom is a housewife, and my dad used to work in Lukoil, by the way, which is a Russian company. And yeah, he worked in Kherson because we had this Ukrainian institution there. And he was working with oil, petrol, all that stuff. And that's it, nothing special.
And when you were growing up at home, were you in a Russian-speaking family or a Ukrainian-speaking family or a bit of both? Or
I'd say that the majority of people in Kherson used to speak Russian. They still speak Russian. A lot of people still speak Russian. Yeah, that was never a problem, actually.
Yeah. And so you then did your translation, and how did you then get into teaching and into English language teaching in particular?
Yeah, that was a long journey. Yeah, I ended after the university. I actually ended up in IT company.
Okay.
So I'd been working there for not in one company, but I'd been working in several companies for 5 years, and then yeah, I was like teaching part-time sporadically, and once at my previous job, my colleagues reached me and asked, maybe you can teach some speaking classes, you know, or we can organize a speaking club or something like that. And I was, okay, why not? Let's try. And here I am. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, kind of lucky accident.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you were based, you said you were in Irpin, yeah?
Yeah, we bought a flat with my husband in 2020, and we were like occupied, like, I mean, not by Russians, but we were busy doing the home renovations and all the stuff. And we moved in 2021. It was the summer, and we had a chance to live there for 9 months. And it's funny because I'm living in Lviv right now for 1 year and a half, which is more than I had, like that, which is more than the time that I lived in Irpin, basically, which is crazy.
Well, we'll come back to the kind of last years. So can you remember, like, was there a point at which, like, the political situation in Ukraine or politics in general first kind of, I don't know, came into your consciousness, or was there any kind of moments of awakening for you or anything where you started just kind of being aware of stuff?
Frankly, no moments of awakening, because I love reading, and I've been always interested in reading extensively about history, especially in the 20th century, what happened there. And I understood that like something might happen, like especially something bad. I mean, last year, and we actually had a war at that moment, which wasn't a surprise, but we were shocked that such atrocities might happen in the 21st century. And I'm not, you know, I'm 29 right now, and before the war, I wasn't interested in politics that much. Of course, I tried to keep abreast of what's happening, you know, trying to understand the world rhetoric and so on and so forth. But the beginning of the full-scale war altered my reality, and now I try to understand what's happening not only in my country, but what's happening, like, you know, on the continent.
So when you were, if you're 29 now, so you must have been 20 in 2014. Yeah. And
right.
Well, what are your memories of that period? Because, I mean, were you living in, what, Odessa at that point?
Yeah, I was in Odessa, and it was...
Get messages about from Russian people kind of going, what about the murdered people in Odessa?
Yes. And actually it was quite frightening, because there was this trades union house fire.
Yeah.
It was the 2nd of May, if I'm not mistaken, and I was at my dormitory. And we were advised by the local authorities to stay inside, like not to go outside. And it was very frightening, and my parents were really concerned. And when the clashes started, they actually picked me home to Kherson, and I spent a week or so there until something clarified, and then I went back to my studies.
And did what was happening kind of impact you? Did the kind of the annexation of Crimea, say, or what was happening up in Donbass, did it kind of, I mean, I remember when I was 20 and I was kind of absorbed in my own little bubble
Yes,
most of the,
yes. It was like that for me as well, I was worried by my exams, not by the war, which is crazy. But I think it's okay for a young person, because I wasn't an activist. I wasn't that, engaged in the rhetoric. I was busy with my life, which is kind of stupid. I understand it right now, but okay, we all were young. Like, I'm still young, but still. Yeah, and I had my friends. I had several friends who lived in the Crimea, and they were studying at universities as well, and they had to finish their studies and relocate to Odessa.
Yeah.
Like, it was their decision, because they didn't want to continue that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. Like, people were shocked. No one expected such things.
I mean, I know from talking to other teachers who are from Donbass that there was often a kind of feeling of frustration from people from Donbass that people in the rest of Ukraine didn't fully understand what had happened there or what people were going through, or there was a kind of blaming of, well, you can't trust them there. And I guess, like you were saying, it kind of took February 24th for people to wake up and to kind of realize, that Crimea had all been part of a bigger plan.
My husband is actually from Donbass. He is originally from Luhansk, but he moved to Kiev as a child.
Yeah.
But his granny is still there in Luhansk. And when the war started in 2014, the city was bombed, right? And they lost connection with the granny.
Yeah.
And after several weeks, his mom decided to go and take her to Kiev. And it was horrific. It was terrible, but they took her for some time. And now she's there, and it's kind of okay. Like, no bombings. Like, sometimes it happens. But she says, "Oh, I didn't hear that." Grannies, they have problems with their ears, so they never hear anything.
There has to be some advantages to getting older.
Exactly. And like, we asked her, like, if you want, we can take you to Lviv. Like, you can, I don't know, travel to Russia somehow, and we can bring you through Europe. And she says, "No, I was born here. I'm gonna die here." This attitude that a lot of elderly people have.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends who stayed in Kharkiv right the way through the worst periods of the bomb, and I was talking to them and saying, like, if you want to try and come to England, you can come to England. We can get you sponsors. No. I'm going to be here for the victory day. And
yes, it's my sister's attitude. She's in Kharkiv right now, and she didn't leave the city when the war started as well.
I mean, it's very difficult to know what your own reaction would be, but I know a lot of my dad's side of the family all stayed in London during the Blitz, and in my family history on my dad's side, there was a strong kind of memory of, when the Germans were bombing us, we stayed here and we waited. And I guess it's a thing, which is, you stay where you're from. I understand both reactions.
Recently I came across a picture. It was a photo of a woman in London during the Second World War, and she was wearing a nice dress and like some makeup probably. Yes, and she was taking her post or something, right? And
there's another
this tells a lot.
Like wearing his white milkman's coat, kind of carrying the milk through this bombed out street. And it's like, the people who are here still need their milk. Yeah. So
life goes on.
Well, 1 second. Yeah. Yes, sir. Oh, maybe not. Sorry. Excuse me. So, what were your memories of like the beginning of the full scale invasion? If you were in your new apartment in Irpin.
So I was enjoying my brand new apartment, my nice interior design, which I prepared thoroughly. So we woke up because our paranoid friend woke up, and he lived in Kiev at that time, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, it started! I heard explosions," and we thought that he's, you know, like something happened to him. Maybe he'd been drinking or something, and we said, "Please calm down. It's okay. Let us check, you know, the news or, you know, call our relatives." Because we didn't hear any explosions in Irpin, because my house is not exactly in Irpin. It is closer to the bridge that leads to Kiev,
Yeah.
which had been bombed later. Probably you saw some pictures from that bridge, so it's like 10 minutes, you know, on foot from my house. And I called my mom, and she told me that they heard explosions. And in my flat, in my parents' flat in Kherson, if you go to the balcony, you can see Chernobyevka airport.
Yeah.
I think you heard of this airport.
Yeah.
And it was bombed, and my parents were shocked because they didn't believe that the war might happen. I'm, you know, this anxious type of a person, and I prepared, I bought this special bag for my cat so that I can carry it like that. I prepared this grab and go bag with some essentials, and I was, okay, it's happening. I was, you know, I was becoming anxious, oh my gosh, because I didn't know what to do. I couldn't pull myself together. My husband said, okay, I'm gonna sleep. I told him, are you okay? He actually went to bed. I was running around and panicking. Then I saw my flat has like huge panoramic windows of Bucha, Hostomel, and I saw that the Hostomel airport is being bombed by Russian helicopters, and I was like, okay, maybe we need to go. So I woke up my husband. We gathered the cat, the bags, and we ran outside. We met our neighbors. We didn't have a car at that moment, so we couldn't leave on our own. And we decided to cooperate with our neighbors. And we actually had been living for 9 days together until we decided to evacuate, because the fighting came closer and closer. And we decided that it will be stupid to stay and get killed. And yeah.
You were still living in your apartment, or?
No, we lived in the apartment of our neighbors because it was on the 6th floor, and ours is on the 16th floor. Yeah, which was more dangerous. So we lived together. There were 8 people and a cat in total, 2 cats actually. Yeah. And we left on the 4th of March. And it was very noisy. I mean, all the bombings, explosions, and we understood that we could have been killed, like in retrospect, because some people were killed. And the next day, the Russians actually came closer to our apartment building. And the next day, like after we left, our house was bombed. It was actually bombed by a tank. And it happened. It was happening for 3 hours or so. Our neighbors, even like who stayed there, they even filmed that. Yeah. Luckily, our apartment is okay. It's like really magic.
Have you managed to check?
We didn't, but my husband's mom, she came there and they checked everything. And they took the flowers. They came there after 2 or 3 months, and all my flowers were alive. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Yeah, these are cacti, but you know.
And how did you manage to leave, given the car situation?
Yeah, with our neighbors. Okay. They had 2 cars. Yeah, so they took us, and
at that,
yeah, we are very. Can you repeat?
Yeah, sorry. At that point, you went to Lviv.
Yeah, we didn't know where we were going because like we stayed one night at my distant relatives in Vinnytsia region, and then we understood that we have a friend in Lviv, so we called him, and he said, "Oh my gosh, okay, surely come to my place." And he had an extra room, and we'd been living there for 9 months together with him. Yeah, and then after the occupation of Kherson, we took my parents from there, and we've been living together since November. I mean, with my parents, and we had to move to a bigger flat here in Lviv.
Yeah, I just can't imagine what it must be like knowing what then happened in Irpin and Bucha, and knowing that, you know, given
horrified
3 or 4 days later, that could have easily been you.
Yeah, actually, like my friend's husband was killed there, so a lot of bad things happened. Yeah.
And your parents, you said, stayed in Kherson all the time.
Yes.
Occupation.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And have you talked to them about it? Are they able to talk about what it was like? And
like it was obvious because, you know, when they came and I looked at them and they were like 10 years older than before the war. Yeah. And it took me like 2 or 3 months, you know, to have them back. I mean, like we pampered them as much as possible, you know, bought some tasty foods, like whatever they wanted. Now they are, as usual, you know, shouting at me still, like normal parents. Yeah, but it was hard, and it is still hard because my auntie and my granny are there, and the city is heavily bombed every day. And yes, and after the destruction of the Novakhovka Dam, you know, there was a huge flood in the city, and one house of my auntie was under the water completely, and now it's ruined. So she has to live with her dad in another house. And yeah, this is devastating, really. I even do not know how I'm still holding up, you know, just.
And throughout all of this, have you managed to keep teaching?
Yes, I do. I actually started teaching. I returned to teaching during the second week of the war when I came to Lviv, because I had to do something, you know, I couldn't just sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. And it actually helped me. I think like my job actually didn't let me to go into depression, you know, or something like that.
I was going to ask, like, how the last sort of 15 months have affected your teaching.
I'm engaged in a lot of charity things, and I'm happy to be able to do that. I was lucky to provide a chance to some of my students who wasn't able to afford having classes, so I taught them for free, and I had several charity groups, and I'm very happy that I can do that. I can help people somehow. So we finished Outcomes Advanced, by the way.
We've just been looking at the proofs for 3rd edition, so that will soon be out in the autumn. So
lovely, I'm waiting for that.
It's nice to know. I hope your students enjoyed it.
Yes, they did actually. One of my students reached me, like when we started using the Outcomes book, she told me, "Oh my gosh, Ira, I feel the progress after 1 month. And I didn't have such a progress after 10 months using the English file with some teacher." Yes.
Years, obviously.
Yes, I was very happy to hear that.
Yeah. And are all of your students based in Ukraine as well, or have you got students who in other?
90% of my students are in Ukraine.
Yeah. And has there been anything else? I mean, I don't know how much time or energy you've had for anything else outside of just teaching and dealing with parents and staying alive, but have you been involved in anything else outside of teaching for the last sort of 15 months?
Yeah, sure. I find myself quite a versatile person. I've got a lot of hobbies, and currently I'm doing the embroidery.
Okay.
And I'm cross-stitching the Starry Night by Van Gogh. And this is what like helps me to calm down, and it's very therapeutic. And I do love reading, by the way. I enjoy some reading challenges. And this year I've got a goal to read 50 books. I'm finishing my 23rd, by the way, which is The Road to Unfreedom by Timothy Snyder. I'm a huge fan. Yeah, recommend reading it to everyone.
Yeah, I reread it at the start of the war because I think I first read it in 2019, and last February or March I reread the whole thing, and it was just like, Jesus, he saw all of this coming already. It's like just saw everything coming. Yeah. I mean, for those of you out there watching who don't know the Timothy Snyder things, very well worth checking out. Road to Unfreedom's a great book, and On Tyranny also great. And I haven't started this one yet, but this is sitting there on my pile, which is Bloodlands by Timothy.
I'm also planning to read that one.
And if you haven't watched the series of Yale videos, by the way, he does an amazing of history of Ukraine on YouTube, free, all the lectures he did from Yale, and he's been a really kind of great ambassador for Ukraine, I think. Yeah, there's a question there saying, please, how did you immerse into lexical approach?
Surely I've been with Lexical Lab since 2021. I was lucky to study with Andrew. Like I did one course with him, and then I started the group with Margot. I love Margot. Yep, and surely I've got my Bible. Yeah, this is.
Hey, it's good a place to start as any.
Yeah. And yeah, I tried to visit the webinars when you conducted them last year. Yeah. And I actually wanted to join the summer course, but I wasn't lucky to get the place because, you know, there were no places when I wanted to buy. But I think next year, why not?
And before I was going to ask, how is it in Lviv at the moment? Because, I mean, it must be, I know like Lviv has kind of doubled in population over the last sort of 15 months, and you know.
Yeah, I live in a quite forested area. Like it's close to the city center, but still Lviv is very green, and you cannot feel, you know, the number of people. I mean, it's very calm and lovely city. I really regret that we hadn't bought a flat here because I love the city so much. I'm thinking about staying here.
I love Lviv. I keep thinking about, I mean, I like Kyiv as well, but the two cities I really fell in love with when I was in Ukraine were Lviv and Odessa. And I was just like, I can't remember being in places in Europe where I felt so much at home, and it was just kind of, don't know, something very special about both of the cities. I felt, you know.
You know, when I visited London, I felt the same. I visited London this year because my friend helped me to get the visa.
Okay.
So I had to go to take it. It was in February, and I felt so much at home because I saw Ukrainian flags everywhere.
Yeah.
It was so lovely. I really loved the place, and we actually planned to move there with my husband because my husband's been working at a British company for a while.
Okay.
And yeah, we are waiting for this war to stop at one moment and start our life there.
Yeah, someone's just asked, is Lexical Lab still available? Well, you're watching Lexical Lab right now. I mean, basically, yes, we do part-time advanced level English courses. There's a website called www.lexicallab.com that you can check out. We do a once a year face-to-face summer school just for a couple of weeks. And we have some online teacher training courses and that kind of thing. And we have a YouTube channel. So you can check all of that out if you're interested. Thank you for asking.
And join the Thursdays group with Margot because I'll be there in July.
I'm going to ask maybe slightly more. I don't know. I don't know if they're more difficult questions or not. But do you still have, or did you ever have, like friends or family on the other side of the border in Russia?
Oh, luckily no. But my husband had a granny who lived in St. Petersburg, and unfortunately she passed away. and we have no contacts with other relatives of him, and no one actually reached us, you know, and yeah,
That's a,
something like that.
and
Yeah.
you have like teacher friends or anyone that you were in touch with beforehand?
Mm, no, not actually.
So
No,
you haven't had that kind
only
of,
Ukrainians.
yeah.
Yeah.
So one of, again, maybe this is a strange question. I know from the audience space I have that, I don't know if you know, but I mean, I spent a lot of time going to Russia
Yeah.
before madness happened, and over the years have accumulated quite a lot of followers from there, although considerably less since I started writing about the war.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, you know, I know there will be Russians out there watching these videos, whether live or later on. And I just wondered if there was anything you wanted to tell them or ask them or say or not. It's fine.
You know, I was like thinking what I would say to a Russian if I meet one. But yesterday I saw these photos of people in Rostov
Yeah, I know.
hugging Wagner mercenaries, and I was like, okay, you know, I was reading the chapter of this book today, and there was a nice quote by Franklin Roosevelt. People who give up liberty to have some kind of safety for a short period of time deserve neither liberty nor safety. And probably this will be my message to Russians. Yeah.
It's as good a message as any, I think.
Yeah.
And how do you feel now when you look at what's happening in Western Europe, say, and, you know, I include the States in that, and yeah, you've got kind of two or three things going on, I guess. You've got some people who are kind of marching for peace and, you know, who want to see a negotiated settlement. You've got other people like Macron who don't want to see Putin humiliated, although how you can be humiliated than he already don't
France
know.
has an interesting history with Russia.
Than this, France has an interesting history with the Nazis as well. And,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Marine Le Pen and her approval of the Russian invasion in 2014. So
puppet, basically. So, you know,
yes,
I imagine
yes.
she's worrying about when the money runs out at the moment.
Yeah.
And what would you like to say? So let me break the question down. What would you say to people in Western Europe who say they want peace and they'd like to see a negotiated end to the war, and, you know, we need to end it before it gets bigger?
No, I also want to have my ordinary life back. I also want to eat croissant, drink my coffee, and watch Netflix. I'm not like a crazy girl that enjoys the war and likes when the rocket fly above my head. But like what they propose sounds to me like a classic West-splaining. You know, people who think that they have the right to, I don't know, make some assumptions. Who should do what, and it sounds like they are not in the context and they judge from their Western experience, but it's not relevant to Ukraine. It's not how the things are done here, and we'll have the victory, I'm sure, and we'll have some agreements at some point, but it wouldn't be like giving away our land. We will actually bring our land back. I mean, the land that was taken by Russia in 2014. I'm sure.
And how do you feel about the people who say that providing, you know, I don't know, like, they keep changing their mind about what providing what is crossing what red line? But I guess at the moment, like, giving Ukraine F-16s is escalating and it could lead to nuclear war, and we all have to be careful.
But there will be not maybe a war, but bombing of the Zaporizhia nuclear station if we are not given F-16. What the West will say then when the radiation comes to, I don't know, Germany or France or whatever country. radiation has no borders, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, it's basically how I see it as well. But I'm amazed by how many people I know here in England, kind of, I guess, people on the left who see themselves as anti-American and anti-English imperialism, and who have a kind of blind spot for other forms of imperialism, you know? And so it's like, I'm sure you've seen all those memes of like aeroplanes with American flags on them dropping bombs, and it will say imperialism, and then there's Russian planes with Russian flags on dropping bombs, and it says anti-imperialism. And I think there's definitely some people in the West who suffer from that kind of, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And to me, it seems really obvious that sometimes the enemy of your enemy is a bigger enemy than your first enemy, and that sometimes your first enemy might not actually be as bad as you thought it was.
Yeah. I might recommend reading history books, you know, to such people. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because generally appeasing people doesn't work well.
Yeah, critical thinking, just basic skills, but as you can see, not everyone has those.
Yeah. And do you know people from Ukraine who've now like been scattered across other bits of Europe? Do you have friends who are in other places, or?
Yeah, I've got friends in Portugal right now. They actually had been traveling when the war started, so they are staying there. Yeah. Some of my students are abroad in the Czech Republic, in Poland. Yeah, but not a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And I guess this may seem like a stupid question as well, and maybe you've kind of half answered it already, but how are you feeling about the coming weeks, months? Yeah.
I want to feel optimistic because like this is the only thing that we've got. I mean, the Ukrainians. I want to feel optimistic, and it's all very unpredictable, but I don't know. I want to, you know, celebrate my 30s being in London. So this is the plan. I want a universe to react. Yeah, I've got my birthday on the 18th of January.
Okay.
So the universe has 6 months. Yeah.
The same month as me, by the way. So I felt yeah.
Yeah.
It's just to finish off, really, Ira. Is there anything else you'd like to share with anyone watching or with viewers?
Oh, yeah, I recommend reading Timothy Snyder, as we already mentioned. And I don't know, I've got a lot of books actually that I can recommend. So if people are interested, they can reach out and we can chat. I'm, you know, open to conversations. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you and say that I'm very honored to be here. And what you are doing, I find it very, very important what you are doing. You know, you created such a platform where Ukrainians can speak, and you help us, you know, tell the truth to the world. And this is not what people are doing. Like, there are really few people who are doing that. And I want to thank you a lot for that.
You're welcome. Thank you. I mean, I guess like everyone affected in whatever way, I feel a kind of responsibility to be doing something. And whether that's sending money every month or just giving platforms to people to talk. I mean, I remember when the war first started, the full-scale invasion happened, a lot of what I was trying to do was just help people find accommodation in Budapest or Krakow, or, you know, help people find jobs and help people just kind of get some kind of normality going on in their lives. And then I think after that, I guess maybe, I don't know, I felt a kind of guilt at not seeing what had been coming earlier. Because, I mean, right up until November, what are we on now? November 2021, I mean, I was still visiting Russia. I was in Moscow in November 21, and, you know, it was like a kind of normal city. And when you look back on it, you realize how much you missed. And I mean, I've spoken to Russians I know who've left, and they say a similar thing in a way, which is they knew that there were 2 or 3 or 4 different Russias going on, but they never realized that there'd be a civil war between them, and that one side would try and crush the other and then crush the neighbors and all of that. And I guess when you have an understanding of that, and, you know, as someone who makes their living using words, I kind of feel like it's just a sort of moral responsibility. I also have a kind of parallel strange story. I have a friend of mine called Danny, who he's a teacher, but not of English language. And when the Syrian conflict started, he became really, I mean, I sort of worry that I'm becoming Danny, because he was teaching quite a lot of Muslim students and Middle Eastern students, and he became really, really obsessed with the disinformation campaign around what was happening with the white helmets, with the chemical attacks, and by the fact that no one in the West was paying any attention to it. Okay. Yeah. And by the way that the Western media was repeating Russian propaganda lines. And I kind of almost started regarding him as like a kind of flat earth crazy guy who just writes this paranoid stuff on social media all the time. And it's like, whoa, Danny, you know, maybe you need to get out more. Maybe you need to chill out, man. Maybe you need to like have a drink and, you know, calm down. And now I look at him and think, actually, he saw what I'm now seeing much, much earlier than I did. And we met recently, and we were talking about what happened with him there. And he said he feels vindicated now because he suddenly realized how social media was being gamed and manipulated, and the relationship between the propaganda channels and the mainstream news, and the fact that all of these atrocities were being committed against the Syrian people with Russian help, and with the Russian disinformation machine weaponizing all of what was going on. And he found it terrifying, and he was very deep in it and looking at it very closely. And then he said, of course, when the full-scale invasion happened, you see exactly the same mechanism starting again. And I guess, I think for me, it's that realization that for Russia, the information, I mean, it's the one thing they're good at, okay?
Yeah, they are experts.
They're much better at fighting in the information space than are on the battlefield, thank God. And I guess I just kind of realized that if you understand this and you have any kind of platform at all, you have a responsibility to talk about your understanding of what's happening in the information space, because it's part of the war. You know, it's part of the war. And I guess in that sense, you know, we're all part of well, everyone in Western Europe is already part of the war, because we've absorbed millions of Ukrainian refugees. Our own economies are already kind of gearing up more towards kind of wartime economies. And obviously it's not something that's going to go away. It's still front page news most of the time. I mean, particularly today. You know.
I also noticed that yesterday and today, the news coverage of what's going in Russia, meaning Wagner, what it was, I don't know. And when the Russians exploded the Novakhovka Dam, there was like no news at all, which is strange, really, because it's like one of the biggest ecocides in Eastern Europe, and no one cares.
I think it's not that no one cares. I think it's that one of the weaknesses of the way a lot of the Western media works, and it's a weakness that Russia exploits very, very cleverly, is a desire not to speculate or assert anything until they can actually factually prove things. And I think, you know, as a Ukrainian, and for me watching it, it's immediately obvious.
Yes. Come on, like who can do that?
I understand that you can construct alternative versions of what's happened, and that's of course what the Russian information space immediately does. Ukraine themselves, NATO did it. They did it to bring NATO in. All those stories, and I think that the problem for Western media is they have to wait until they have the sonar radar data, and then the videos, and then the basically they want to be very sure. And so I think you've got this kind of terrible 2 weeks where
Yes, it was crazy, really. I think I would have gone mad. Would have gone mad, yeah.
Feels like you've been abandoned, and I think Russia's very clever at exploiting that. You know, in a way, it's a strength of our media, because, but it's also a weakness of our media. Yeah. One other book, by the way, if anyone's watching, a quick recommendation is correct me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Is Serhiy Plokhy? Plokhy?
Yeah, love him.
How do you pronounce it?
Plokhy. Serhiy Plokhy.
Serhiy Plokhy. Okay.
Very good.
Two really great books in English. One's called The Gates of Europe, which is a kind of brain, and this one's just come out, and it's going to be my holiday reading, but I've been dipping into it.
By the way, once you recommended a book, I think it was a newsletter or something like that, and when I was in London, I bought it. Give me a moment. This one.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
So I'm going to read it. I haven't started yet, but it's on the list.
It's kind of a very interesting way of looking at 20th century history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so I hope you enjoy that. Yeah. So, Ira, I guess I should leave you to get on with whatever else you have to get on with on a Sunday evening. Go and see how my wife's day's been. Thank you very, very much for giving up your time to join us, and thank you for sharing your experiences. I mean, I can't imagine how you seem so normal and human after everything you've been.
Yeah.
And
I've got a heart of steel.
Well, desperate times call for desperate measures, yeah. And
yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
Send my best to your parents and Slava Ukraini. Yeah.
And Slava.
All right. Take care, yeah. Look after.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.